What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Fantasy Flex Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Raybon of the Action Network, and this is our final Stock Watch pod ahead of the start of the 2023 regular season. So this is going to look at all of the players that are moving up and down after week 3 of the preseason and after final roster cuts, some trades going on as well. So we'll talk about all that. And then our next episode after this will be our final rankings pod, where we'll go over all of our top league winners that we like for 2023. Now that we have a pretty good idea of what's gonna go down and who's gonna be on all these rosters. And here to break it down with me, one of the top fantasy rankers, projectors in the game, none other than the odds maker, Sean Kerner. Sean, what's going on?
What's up? Happy roster cut day. We're gonna be living in our spreadsheets for the next 24 hours, I bet.
Oh yeah, 24. Try like 7.
Yeah, probably the rest of the week.
Yeah, like I always get caught up. Like I'll start like updating stuff, and then I'm like, you know what? I need to refine this little model here, and then I'll just get like sidetracked and start creating mini models, and I'm just supposed to be.
Not the mini models.
But yeah, let's just run. We're gonna just run through a lot of players here, but guys that we think is worth talking about. Guys that essentially their fantasy value has changed since in the last week or so, with all the rosters being cut down and the preseason ending. So let's start at quarterback. The big news: Kyler Murray officially is going to start the year on the physically unable to perform list. But not only that, Colt McCoy is cut. So Josh Dobbs probably starting week 1. Remember, he's familiar with new offensive coordinator in Arizona, Drew Petzing's system, because Petzing was with Dobbs in Cleveland. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be Dobbs. It could be Clayton Tune, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be Dobbs. But I think for Kyler Murray, this, I don't think this is good news, because I think now that he's officially on the PUP, I just, there's always that danger that he just never comes off.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was projecting Kyler for maybe 3 missed games. It definitely looked like he was going to be ready earlier in the season. But now that he's on the PUP, he's going to miss at least 4 games. At that point, they might be 0-4. We've talked about there's no reason to rush him back. And then if they end up with the first overall pick next year, it's going to be mighty tempting to take Caleb Williams. So I'm very interested to see how this drama unfolds. But like you said, Josh Dobbs could be their starter for most of the season now, if that ends up being the case. And he has some sneaky rushing upside. I know I was pissed off when he was on the Titans. They didn't let him use his legs as much, but he does have some pretty good rushing upside. So he could be a sneaky play in like DFS, or maybe push low-end QB2 value at times. So he's a guy to watch an eye on in like deeper leagues and things like that. But it does look like he's going to be their week 1 starter, unless they go with Clayton Tune, which is still possible. I don't think they've announced yet. But Dobbs is definitely somebody to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I mean, I think if Tune were to be the guy, I don't know if they would have made the move for Dobbs. They might have just released McCoy and kind of rode with, it just seems like Tune did not wow them enough. But either way, Kyler Murray, I have him ranked 28th. I have him projected for 10.5 games, but this Cardinal team is, they're tanking. Like, this is an all-out, full-on tank job. So, I mean, where is Kyler? Are you drafting him at all anywhere?
I think in leagues where if you could stash him on your IR for free or something, absolutely. Why not? But he's my QB 28. Again, that's going to be a lot lower than where I would draft him, because I'm chopping off so many games, but his per game value is going to be higher than that. So yeah, deeper leagues where you start 2 quarterbacks or something, definitely add him late if you can and stash him on the IR. I think the real question is, are you downgrading James Conner at all, or Marquise Brown? Because I think that's something like this can really impact, a guy like Conner, who probably needs the offense to provide him goal line looks. Marquise Brown could struggle with a guy like Dobbs under center. So are you lowering those guys at all with this news?
No, I the reason being, I already had Kyler pretty conservatively projected, and Kyler was very bad last year. He had his worst season as a passer. And so when it comes to this offense, the way I'm looking at it is I actually am not. I have him ranked 28th as well, but I'm not drafting him anywhere because when I look at Kyler, I'm saying, okay, this dude had his worst season as a pro last year. He's coming off an ACL injury. He needs his mobility. That probably will be compromised. He's learning a new offense. The study clause was removed from his contract. So will he actually learn a new offense? How can he learn a new offense when he's rehabbing a torn ACL? This just sets up for disaster. And the last thing I feel like I want to tell people to do is like stash a dude who ends up being like just as bad as like Joshua Dobbs. Like there's a non-zero chance that Kyler Murray is not any better than Joshua Dobbs from a fantasy perspective. So like, I'm just out on him. I'm out.
And he might return right around when the new Call of Duty game comes out. So we won't even get that pre-Call of Duty sugar rush from him either. So
yeah, I mean, no, like I know people are considering this, so we'll talk about it for another second longer, and then we'll move on. But if you look at Arizona's coaching staff, first-time head coach in Gannon, right? First-time coordinator on offense, first-time coordinator on defense. You look around at coaching staff, no big names, no veterans. This is they signed off on a tank job. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, this is the clearest tank job I think we've seen in some time. I mean, they didn't replace Murphy. They didn't replace Hopkins. They didn't replace Zach Allen. Like, it couldn't be any clearer to me. So with Kyler Murray going on a pup, you know, what is it, 4? And then you have another 4 weeks to activate him. And then he could end up missing like 8 weeks, I think, total by being on the pup or something. Right. So I think he might end up missing the max of that, but like I said, there's a chance he plays 0 games, and that combined with the fact that him learning a new offense and having his mobility compromised, I just think you don't draft him in 2023. I just think it's a loss. It's like Jameson Williams part 2.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the biggest thing. If and when he does return, he's not going to be running around like usual. He's coming back from a really significant leg injury. So yeah, like he won't even provide that rushing upside. Just stay away.
Yeah. It's number 6.1 yards per attempt last year, and no Hopkins. Like, man. All right. Bailey Zappi's cut, so that just solidifies Mac Jones. He is one of these quarterbacks now that does have kind of like that Jordan Love job security where you figure he would start every single game. So like where are you on Mac Jones in terms of other rankings?
He's QB 25. He's not a guy that I'm really interested in. I did bump his games played projection up a bit, so that's why he moved up. But I'm still in this range. Definitely looking at guys like Stafford, Purdy, Jordan Love, and Kenny Pickett specifically. I would still take Bryce Young over Mac Jones because he does have some rushing upside. But this just means that Mac Jones is a lock to pretty much start when he's healthy this year. I was one of the people that thought that Zappe was going to overtake him like he did for 1 or 2 games last year. But this just solidifies that he's their starting quarterback this year.
Yep. Yeah, I have him QB 26. Yeah, 25. I'm going to move him up 1. So, yeah, 25 sounds about right. Kenny Pickett, I mean, he's just buzzing right now. So, we'll talk about it real quick. 5 drives in the preseason. All 5 resulted in a touchdown. He had a big preseason last year, too. So, I guess we can't overreact. But where are you taking Pickett? Like, how high?
I would say QB 22. That's where I'd take him. I think I'd still lean Jordan Love, maybe Brock Purdy over him, but that range. And I think ultimately he just makes me more confident drafting guys like Deontay Johnson, George Pickens specifically, and Pat Freiermuth. I still like Pat Freiermuth where he's going. And to be fair, one of those 5 drives that result in a touchdown, all Pickett had to do was hand the ball off to Jalen Warren, and he busted a 60-plus yard touchdown. But Pickett looked great. I was like, he was one of the toughest projections heading into preseason. I was like, I got to see how he looks because he could make a big year 2 leap. Prove that he blew it out of the water. So he's a guy I'm much higher on than I was entering preseason, and that just makes me like his receivers and tight end even more.
I actually think, I think Pickett kind of he's gonna make a year 2 leap, but I think the biggest year 2 leap is actually gonna be Pickens, and that is ultimately what's gonna help Pickett, because Pickens was kind of a one-trick pony last year. Now he's a complete receiver. And that just really changes the game, I think, for a guy like Pickens, to have a guy that talented running all over the field. Because Deontay is great, but it's just a different kind of receiver. He's not making his quarterback better necessarily the way a guy like Pickens with that size, speed combo can.
Yeah, and your boy Allen Robinson was running around like 90% of Pickett's dropbacks. So those are just wind sprints, more targets for Pickens, right?
Yeah, I mean Calvin Austin will overtake A-Rob soon enough.
Yeah, eventually.
All right, let's move on to running back. The big news here: Jonathan Taylor not traded from the Indianapolis Colts, so he's on the PUP, right? So he will miss at least the first 4 games. So it's getting kind of weird here. In Indianapolis, because there was I guess debate over whether he was actually injured, and so now he's on the PUP, so he's definitely missing 4 games. I guess the big question here is two things. First, what does it do to the ranking for JT, and then 2, who do we expect to kind of fill this void? Like, is there any value in any of these other backs?
So I moved JT down to like RB18. I would say that's the range where I might want to take him. But like you said, this is getting very weird. I don't think after 4 games, he's just all of a sudden going to be the starting running back. And there we go. This could get worse. So you always say, you don't want to lose your draft early on in the draft. Yep. So he's a player I'm staying away from. He'd probably have to fall outside the top 20, honestly, for me to consider him. But he's my RB18 right now. Not saying I draft him there, but that's where I moved him down. In terms of the backups, I mean, this is a disaster. It's, Deion Jackson is probably the favorite to maybe get the nominal start week 1, but and we don't know if Zach Moss is going to be ready week 1. He's coming back from that broken arm. I think it's just going to be a mess. It could be a 3-way committee. And to be fair, Anthony Richardson is their starting running back. He's going to be running at a shit ton. So I think that Deion Jackson's worth a flyer if you can get him for free at the end of the draft or something like that. But I wouldn't be banking on any of these guys putting up like RB2 numbers. So they're not guys I really seek out in my RB upside ratings chart, something like that. But I think Deion Jackson for now would be my favorite one to add.
Yeah, because I think Moss is the intended backup, but the injury kind of complicates things. And Steichen was formerly the offensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles, who famously used that 3-way and sometimes even 4-way committee at the running back position a year ago, even deep into the playoffs. So I ultimately we probably just have to expect the same thing while Taylor is out. And I agree. I have him at RB20 right now, but that's with kind of projecting his old workload, which I don't even know if he's going to get, 17 and a half carries per game, this year. So, 20 might be closer to the ceiling. Cause again, when a guy's on the PUP, 4 games is the minimum. Then you have a chance to like activate them off the practice window. Like they don't have to come back. It's not just guaranteed that they come back for the 5th week.
Yeah,
so
like
to kind of factor that in.
Is this all kind of contract related, or is it his ankle and back are like actually the issue here? Do you have any idea? Because I've seen video of him walking around. He looked like me after leg day. Like he didn't look great walking around. I think he is dealing with injuries, right?
He must be dealing with something because you don't just go on the. I feel like that is that would be a violation if you put him on the PUP with no injury.
Oh,
right?
And then maybe that's why people aren't trading for him. Maybe like they found out he's dealing with like a decent enough injury that they don't want to, trade for him. What's going like the Colts probably have a better idea what's going to happen. Like it's not out of the question they could bring in like a Kareem Hunt or Leonard Fournette, right? Do you have any idea like are those guys getting floated around or?
I honestly haven't seen anything. This is another one of those teams that is, in a rebuild. So I would guess that they would just let Evan Hull
let it ride.
Rookie, let it ride. Deion Jackson, let him get some totes. Zach Moss. Like I don't think they'll like. This is not the type of team that would even be a team that those guys would want to go to anyway. This is a rebuilding team. So without JT, it's even worse.
Yeah.
Okay. Josh Jacobs, he signed a 1-year deal, so he's back. Does this change anything for you? Where are you taking Jacobs this year?
Yeah, definitely. I was kind of docking him one extra game than normal. So there's actually a pretty big gap from like RB9 to RB10. So he was still my RB9. He's back up to RB8, especially with the Jonathan Taylor news. But he's still a guy that's coming off a near 400 touch season. So he's still a guy I'd be careful with, but this does kind of solidify him at least early in the season. So he's back up to my RB8. I won't be drafting him there though.
So yeah. Oh, so you're just out on Jacobs. Well, like I am too.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely one of the people that is concerned with his workload last year. Missing camp is not great. Like he's more exposed to an in-season injury early on, and he doesn't go at a time where I'm attacking running back. He's going where I'm drafting wide receiver, or like maybe a Mark Andrews or something like that. He's just not part of my overall draft strategy.
Yeah, agreed. This does take a little bit of a hit out of Zamir White, though, right? Because he was kind of pushing top 50 in some spots I saw.
That was the appeal for him was, this could get really ugly like the JT situation. And the Raiders do have a clear-cut backup. That's Zamir White. He wouldn't really play much on passing downs, but he's the clear backup. So that's why his ADP was going up. But once they signed Jacobs, that kind of squashes that. He's still, he has injury upside, but he's more middle of the pack in that department.
Yeah, the fact that he's more like pretty much a strict 2-down back, and this is still projected to be a pretty bad team. Mm-hmm. Not my favorite back, even in that outside that top 50 range. I think he can do better. J.K. Dobbins is back as well. I've seen a lot of different ranks for him, all over the place. What do you think? Where you see yourself ending up with JK?
So he's my RB27. He's just that fringe RB2, RB3 range. He was holding out. That's kind of why he was missing camp and everything. I don't think it was necessarily injury related. So good to see him back. This team's going to be a lot more pass heavy. Like you said, they're taking away the fullback. So it's going to be a little bit of a different offense. So he's really tricky to project. I rather have, James Conner, David Montgomery, even Alexander Madison type. I think those guys typically go after him anyway. So he's not a back I'm really aggressively pursuing. Plus, if one of the backups gets hurt on the Ravens, he doesn't really get that much of an upgrade, which is kind of what I look for in this range. So I seem to be lower the consensus. I think we get tagged together on tweets all the time like, hey, why are you guys ranking J.K. Dobbins so low? And I didn't realize that we were lower on him. It just doesn't have that kind of upside that I look for in this range. So he's my RB27, not getting much of him this year.
Yeah, he's my RB30, and I agree. I think, that's not much different.
No wonder people are reaching out to us. I thought I was pretty low, but you're lower.
You know me. I'm always like more off than like the other
I wouldn't call. I would say the market's off, not you.
Well, yeah. But I'm always far from consensus. So,
yeah.
But so my thing with Dobbins is, I do think that he could catch more passes, but they've never let him really, average more than 13, 14 carries in a season. And he's still a big missed games risk. He's still a big injury risk, regardless of anything else that's going on. And, the fact that he wasn't really, doing too much in camp, I don't really like that for guys like that. I'd rather you kind of be getting in shape and work at playing and stuff. So I'm not getting much of Dobbins this year. I think this is all about the pass game for Baltimore.
His recent ADPs around RB22, a little too rich.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Alexander Madison is he's got to go after him because
it's RB28 now.
Whew. Oh my God.
He's back to the ADP. Remember we were like, they're cutting Dalvin Cook at him now. He's almost back to that ADP. Bro, what is going on?
I will die on this hill.
Yeah.
Alexander Madison. Like, watch. The Vikings are going to play the Bucks in week 1, and Alexander Madison is going to get a 100% snap rate. Book it. Like, he's not coming off the field. Like they cut McBride. They cut the rookie. Do you see that?
What?
Yeah, they cut Dwayne McBride.
Well, and Nwangu's hurt. Yeah. Alexander Madison, 30 carries for 85 yards week 1, 2 touchdowns. Book it.
And I mean, they might need to bring in a Kareem Hunt, but that's only I would think. No, I think that only is to play the Madison role from last year. Like Kareem Hunt would get like 20% of the snaps, like 5 touches a game, maybe get a couple of third downs. But
take the receiving work away. That's not really
Madison's not even
thing,
all of it. Like just like Cook last year, like he played like 72%. It wasn't really like he lost his receiving work. It was just when he needed a breather, Madison came.
Yep.
Okay, so Mostert, Wilson, and Devon Achane move back up because the Dolphins did not trade for Jonathan.
They have been a joy to project all offseason, right?
Yeah.
Good God.
I mean, Achane, I had a lower Achane because like he just like he was playing with the fifth stringers and then he just got truck stick, and now he's out. And like it was funny because we were like, oh yeah, he's had like 38 carries in a game, like he can stand up to a full workload, and then literally like the first time he takes a hit, he just gets a body and he's out.
Was that the hit that he hurt his shoulder, or was it the play after?
It was a different.
Well, he got like literally body slammed. Don't know why it wasn't a penalty, but he got body slammed, and it was the next play he hurt his shoulder, but he was taking some big hits. But they have been a disaster project because, like, at first we thought they were going to land, Dalvin Cook, and then we thought they would be the team that would trade for JT. It's just like a constant, bracing yourself for them, and they're all, it's a 3-way committee. So, I moved him back up now that looks like JT's not getting traded.
So where did you have Mostert and Wilson? So
I have Mostert RB 41. I mean, he might be the cheapest week 1 starting running back, but it's for a reason. He's going to be healthy the first few games. He has not been able to stay healthy, and now he's what, 31, 32 years old now.
31,
constantly a threat for them to bring somebody in. So he's not a guy I've been targeting. Neither is Wilson. Achane still might be sneaky later on. I think he could have some big plays in the passing game, but largely this has been a backfield I've been avoiding all summer.
I still have Mostert and Wilson right there, right outside the top 40. I have Achane down to 58 just because I think he's going to miss games to start the year. So just not really much you could do there. Tajay Spears for the Titans got a little boost in value because Hassan Haskins went on injured reserve, so that kind of solidifies Spears' role behind Derrick Henry, and he might have a role. I think you kind of talked about like the Dontrell Hilliard role, something like that. Yep. So, this is a guy that I am targeting because if Derrick Henry goes down, I think Spears would get, a workhorse role. I mean, they have nobody else. They might have to bring in like a Fournette if Henry goes down.
No, Spears looks great, and there's still a non-zero chance that Henry could get traded. By the end of the season. I know you're a Titans futures holder. I'm not saying that will happen, but it's possible, right? It's possible.
Absolutely
not. No. Well, either way, even if Henry plays all 17 games, I still think Spears could carve out like the third down role, which has had value at times in this offense. So I love him as a prospect. They took him in the 3rd round for a reason. He might not have a long career due to his medical history, but he's going to be very good. And his 5 to 7 years he's in the league, I loved him as a prospect coming out of Tulane.
I mean, I love Spears too. That third down role is not having any value.
Sometimes
this is a run heavy offense with Hopkins, Burks, and Chig. Like there's absolutely no way that third down running
DFS showdown slate. Remember, there's been times where like Nichols or Hilliard racked up like 4 to 8 catches in a game. It's happened.
Okay.
Plus, Spears is good. I'm projecting like maybe 4 to 5 carries a game. Could be his ceiling, even when Henry's healthy. Spears is really friggin' good.
They're gonna use that dude to blow up. They're gonna use that dude to blow up the edge rusher that their left tackle can't block. That's what he's gonna be used for.
Their offensive line could be an issue.
He's not gonna catch many passes at all, unless Henry goes down. Then
right. That's the appeal for taking him is if Henry misses time, he could be low end RB2. He has that kind of skill set.
Dallas, how are you treating the Tony Pollard backup? Dowdle and Deuce Vaughn both made it. Deuce looked like really good in preseason. Yeah. Is he the RB2? Or is it Dowdle because he's more of a conventional RB.
I think Dowdle, like if Pollard were to go down, Dowdle would probably see the most touches. But Deuce is like the Tony Pollard. My comp for him going into the draft was Micro Machine Tony Pollard. I mean, he is really good. He probably can't handle more than 15 touches a game, but he's the kind of guy that can do some damage with 5 to 10 touches a game. So I think he's going to mix in even when Tony Pollard is healthy. So he could have weeks where he provides value. I'm not saying draft him. But I think, with Malik Davis, getting cut, Dowdle would be the handcuff. But I think Deuce could have some weeks where he's, putting up RB3 flex kind of numbers. He's that good.
Yeah. I mean, I think both of them are worth a stash.
Yeah, for sure.
Like Dallas wants to run a lot, right? That's what I keep hearing. I don't know where these carries are coming from, because Tony Pollard, like what is he? He's probably not getting more than 15 a game tops, I would think, right? 15, 16.
Yeah. Like when he would fill in for Zeke or, he could have games where he has 20 plus carries, but maybe not for a full 17 game season. So I think Deuce Vaughn could mix in quite a bit. Even when Tony Pollard is healthy. That's who I think would probably see the most touches when Pollard is healthy. And then if Pollard misses time, it'll be Dowdle. That's kind of the way I'm projecting this out.
Well, they also recently traded for a very good short yardage back in Trey Lance.
I thought you were going to mention Ronald Jones one last time. Please don't go there.
No.
But you mean like have packages with Trey Lance in there? That could be interesting.
Just convert him to running back.
Oh,
just convert him to running back. If it's because like San Francisco can pull a quarterback out of their like butt crack on like fucking Pluto. That's not even a planet anymore. But like they couldn't make Trey Lance into a quarterback. Like something's got to be off if they couldn't make him to a quarterback. So all right, guys, the new NFL season is almost here. So your old habit of never missing a snap on Sunday is back. And I want to tell you about another habit that I've been getting into, Caldera Labs Skin Regimen. It's simple. And since you're already in the habit of doing something like brushing your teeth, why not just add another habit right after to take your skincare up a notch as well with Caldera Lab? You got a 3-step process. The number 1 is the clean slate, the face wash. Number 2 is the base layer, which is the moisturizer. And then you have the good, which is a serum that you can use at night that makes your skin look tighter and smoother. Every drop has 3 to 4 million antioxidant units protecting your skin. Skincare is important, but it does not have to be difficult, people. Getting in that habit of just 1 minute in the morning, 1 minute at night, all you need to take your daily routine up a notch to better, clearer skin. And just for our audience, we have an exclusive offer, Caldera's best offer anywhere. Just use code FLEX, that's FLEX, at calderalab.com and get 20% off right now. That's 20% off with code FLEX at calderalab.com and make unforgettable first impressions that lead to those magic words, you look younger. Get 20% off at calderalab.com with code FLEX. All right, wide receiver, Jerry Jeudy might miss some time to start the year. That is good for Marvin Mims, but I'm curious as to what your games played and ranking is for Jeudy right now.
Oh, that's a tough one because it looks like he's gonna avoid the PUP list, so he could be ready sooner than later. I knocked 2.5 games, like 2 to 2.5 games off his projected game. So he's down to wide receiver 43, but I would still probably draft him ahead of them, especially if he's going to be your wide receiver 4, at least starting on your bench. I think he could be back by week 3 just based on the tea leaves. But I think the thing to do is, invest in Marvin Mims even more right now because he could have a prominent role either way, because I think the Tim Patrick injury really opened the door for Marvin Mims. And he's the kind of guy that all he needs is a couple of catches a game to make some noise. He's probably going to be their main downfield threat. I believe he was also the first draft pick of the new Sean Payton regime. So I think, Sean Payton believes in this guy. So I would not be shocked if he has a really good rookie season. You could still get him cheap. And he's one of those guys I like to have on my bench, really high upside guy. So I think that the takeaway here is to draft Mims a little bit earlier.
Well, Denver traded a first-round pick to New Orleans for Sean Payton, right?
Yeah, and yeah.
So Sean Payton was technically Sean Payton's first pick.
Wow. Mind blown.
But I think I think Mims could be. I know Payton wasn't there last year, but maybe like a Rashid Shaheed type of player.
For sure.
Explosive.
Yeah, that's good comp.
Yep. May start out a little slow. You may see more Brandon Johnson and Marquez Callaway and who is it, Lil Jordan Humphrey than you want to see early in Denver. Kind of like, remember those Saints wide receiver rotations that we could never project?
Yeah.
So
with Marquez Callaway. Yeah.
Exactly. I would temper expectations a little bit with Mims, but I do think, he's kind of inching toward that top 60 for me, I think there's still some better guys to take that have more value sooner, but this still is good for Mims. Though I will say this, once Judy is back, I do think we could see a lot of 1-2. I mean, we'll see it anyway, but like a lot of 1-2 personnel that could exclude Mims, because I think you're going to see, Troutman and Dosich. That just seems like one of the ways they want to kind of control Russell Wilson's, whatever you want to call that was last year by heavy personnel. We got defense, we run the ball. So yeah, it's just, I don't love this whole situation. I got Judy at a wide receiver 39.
That's a fair rank. And to be clear, Mims is a best ball guy specifically for me.
That
best
makes
ball.
a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Terry McLaurin, and Jackson Smith Najigba, both guys could miss week 1 or be limited early. I'm not really. I think with Terry, I'm not reading too much into it. JSN, it sounds like he is going to miss time because he did have surgery, which is a little different from what Terry just kind of got, like an injury to his toe. But I think he'll play week 1. JSN seems like he's going to miss at least a week or two. It's just he's not going to go on PUP to miss 4. So that just kind of solidifies Lockett and Metcalf a little more, probably gives them a bump or two, up a spot or two. More so Lockett. I think Metcalf's kind of locked in that wide receiver, like 13 range. So JSN, like how much have you downgraded him? Like he's
slightly. Yeah, I think at this point it does look like he's going to miss week 1. I'm talking about a game and a half. Yep. I don't want to lower him too much in terms of rank, just because you're not really drafting him to start week 1 anyway. He's ideally going to be, one of the first couple guys on your bench anyway. So I would still draft him maybe inside the top 45, maybe the top 40, because I still like his upside. Like if Metcalf or Lockett were to go down, like he could provide wide receiver 2 value. That's not a common thing at the wide receiver position. So if anything, this could be a nice time to buy low on him. If he does fall outside the top 45, I think that's an excellent pickup. Even if he misses the first couple games. So with that, I'm trying to juggle my median projections and kind of how that translates to rank. But right now he's my wide receiver 48.
Yeah. My thing is, if you're looking for a rookie, I would take Zay Flowers in that range.
Yeah.
That's my first guy. Over Addison as well, just because I just think he has the clearest path.
He doesn't need an injury to anybody to potentially be the top receiver. And Bateman and Beckham, they've been pretty injury prone. So even more likely for him to move up the pecking order regardless. So yeah, I would agree. I think Flowers has the clearest path out of those rookies.
And emoji scout Odell Beckham approves of Zay Flowers. Lots of tongue emojis. So yeah.
Tongue emojis.
That must be good. Yeah. Odell Beckham knows. He knows about balling out your rookie year.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Corey Davis retired, and that actually cleared up a lot because I was kind of in the back of my head like thinking, like, wouldn't Corey Davis kind of start if he was like, I know they got Hardman and like Corey Davis is kind of like a real receiver and Hardman more of like a not. So, but now, the thing I'm hearing is that Randall Cobb is going to be the slot receiver. So like, where are you ranking Cobb and Hardman with this Corey Davis news?
They're still outside of draftable range. I moved Cobb up quite a bit. Because like you said, I was projecting Corey Davis pretty high. I had him being, their number 3 receiver. So I think, Hardman, Cobb, they're a Garrett Wilson or Alan Lazard injury away. of potentially being fantasy relevant. So they definitely move up, that ranking. But, Hardman's my wide receiver 75. Cobb is my wide receiver 85. So they're still outside the range. I don't know if they have a ton of upside. So I'm still not getting much of those guys.
Yeah. I have them both in that. I have Hardman 86 and Cobb 90. So yeah, it's not looking too great for him, but it does give him a little boost. It's just that it's hard to say like either one of them will be a full-time role because they probably won't. Cobb played 53% of snaps last year.
Yeah, they might split work. And I'm hearing, Tyler Conklin has been one of Rodgers' favorite targets. So maybe, with that news coupled with Corey Davis, you could bump Conklin up a bit because we've seen Rodgers connect with his tight ends, especially in the red zone as well. So he's a guy that has been moving up a little bit for me in this offense. But really, it just looks like it's all Garrett Wilson.
I mean, me off of consensus. I already had Conklin like tight end 20 or something like higher, like
tight end 20.
What I mean?
Yeah,
like, That's like I was like, all right, this is. But no, I think Conklin is in a two tight end lane. He's kind of sneaky, but doesn't really. Most of these guys for the Jets was Lazard. Maybe it gives Lazard a little more of a little bump. Like I have him just inside my top 50, and I think he was outside it before, so he's my 49 right now. So. Lazard, I think, is looking better and better. Quentin Johnston behind Josh Palmer. And that's something, I do think people like Johnston was getting a little bit overdrafted when he was going like early 40s. I think he should be going, probably more as like a wide receiver 5, probably like outside that top 48. Because I do love the upside for the Chargers, and I think they're going to be pass heavy and do a lot of things, but like they don't have any reason to like rush a guy like Quentin Johnston. And even if he does get that number 3 role, I mean, you're talking about target hogging Keenan Allen, another great receiver in Mike Williams, and Austin Eckler, one of the top pass catching running backs. So like the upside for Quentin Johnston to actually be like a true league winner is kind of low. So like even though he's probably I guess I'm one of the higher floor guys just because of the offense he's in. I don't know if he has that like true top 12, top 15 league winning upside that I'm still kind of looking for if I can find it in that range. So where about you? Where you at on Johnson?
Yeah, definitely bump him down. But this is typical for rookie wide receivers. They usually need a few games before breaking out, maybe leapfrogging somebody. If you remember, even Justin Jefferson had to deal with like Olabisi Johnson the first couple of games his rookie season. So I think eventually Quentin Johnson will leapfrog Palmer. But I get the appeal why people will draft him as their wide receiver 4 because, again, you're probably not banking on starting him early on anyway. And he just has a high ceiling. Like he probably has the highest ceiling of all the rookie wide receivers. Not saying he will hit it, especially as a rookie. But if, Keenan Allen or Mike Williams were to miss time, I could see him putting up wide receiver 2 value. So he's still a flyer. But I'm with you. I think Zay Flowers in that range is probably the best bet. But yeah, just temper expectations. A lot of these rookie receivers look like they're going to be farther down the depth chart than we thought initially. But that's pretty common. And then, if they're good the rookie season, they will move up accordingly.
Yeah. I mean, so I was kind of looking at league winners, doing some research and just kind of looking at, wide receivers who, beat their ADP and also finishes like a top 6, top 8 guy. And it turns out that that's really not what you're getting from rookies. Like that, it's very rare for a rookie to like deliver that true top end up. So I think like Odell was one that may have done it. But it's very rare. So like that's something to kind of remember here. Like these rookies are guys that you're kind of looking for to be like good high upside, like depth pieces, good flex spot or something. Maybe get to like a wide receiver 2 if you're lucky. But if there are other guys that you think still could have wide receiver 1 upside or something like that, like by all means, I think you got to go. And the one thing that concerns me about like Johnson versus Palmer, and I've made this mistake before, is like Palmer is 25 heading into year 3, coming off a big year 2 jump. So like, and he's a 3rd round pick. So like Palmer is another one of those guys that like, could be entering his prime. And so it's not just going to be that easy to overtake him necessarily.
Right.
So that's another thing so yeah, John's probably not getting much Johnston, just because, I like to try. Herbert is actually a guy, I think like he's just get Herbert and then you get all of these guys. So
yeah, exactly. If Johnson's great, then that's only going to help Herbert even more.
Right. Yeah. So I think Herbert's kind of just going a little under talked about coming off that bad year last year. Who else we got? Yeah, Jordan Addison, another guy. Like I know you were really high on him. Some Minnesota fans seem to think he didn't look good in his preseason. I don't know. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought he looked fine. He's missed a week or two with the concussion, so he's had a pretty quiet close to camp. But he's the guy from this rookie class I think has the clearest path to wide receiver 3 value. I'm not calling him a league winner necessarily. I think that's a good call that you mentioned that, because if you remember last year, like Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave are great rookies, and they finished as low-end wide receiver 2. Yep. So I think that's kind of the ceiling we're dealing with here. And it was kind of a bad receiver class, not going to lie. I think that's why the Bills took Kincaid so early. But, I think of all the rookies, I still have Addison ranked the highest, although it does look like KJ Osborne will be the number 2 wide receiver to start the season, as annoying as that is. But Addison's the kind of guy that, again, you're not looking to start in week 1 anyway. But I think he is really talented. He's in a pass-heavy offense. And if either, Justin Jefferson or TJ Hawkinson were to go down, or I guess KJ Osborne, he could offer wide receiver 2 value. But I think you made a great point. Tempering expectations with all the rookies in terms of their floor ceiling combo. But I still like Addison. He looked really good when I was watching him. So I think, he could have a solid rookie season.
Yeah, like I do have him behind. I do have him behind Zay. Like Zay is to me, Zay is just not even just like just the path. I just think like if there's gonna be a guy to be like another 2014 Odell Beckham, I just think it's gonna be Zay Flowers. Like I just think he might just have one of those type of years where it's just like oh it's this guy. Like he just has that like when I watch him, he just has that it to him.
Yeah, yeah. It's not just the path; it's the offense too. They should be a lot more pass heavy than we're used to when it comes to the Ravens. So, I mean, he should benefit from that. But I agree. I think at this point, he's probably the rookie with the best, floor ceiling kind of combo.
Yeah. And also should mention the Vikings may go to a little bit more heavy personnel. It shouldn't affect the pass game too much, but just something to keep in mind. They extended CJ Ham. They signed Josh Oliver, a great blocking tight end. So they might run a little less 3 wide than they did last year, which could also like, it's not necessarily just, plugging in Addison or Osborne into like the Thielen role from last year either. It's it could be a little bit of a lower snap percentage for the third wide receiver this year. And let's see, what Carolina, if you have to draft one receiver, who is it? Because Chark and Marshall are kind of banged up. They could miss week 1. They traded for Emir Smith-Marset. Adam Thielen caught a touchdown in the preseason, and Jonathan Mingo is the rookie.
Well, no one really, but if I have to pick, it's Jonathan Mingo, the rookie. I just think he's the best fit for someone like Bryce Young. Really good after the catch as well. But again, he's probably not going to win your league. I think maybe early on in the season, Adam Thielen might be offering the most value, but again, not enough to like make it in your starting lineup in leagues that start 3 receivers. So I think for me, the best value is still Jonathan Mingo.
Yeah, I have Mingo right around that top 60 as well. But so I am pretty like high. He's another rookie I think could come up sooner than later, but it's tough to project. I mean, watch it just be LaVisca. Look at the
exactly. This is like the Chiefs depth chart, but without Patrick Mahomes.
Right. Speaking of which, Justin Ross makes the Chiefs roster at wide receiver, but. And I think we talked about this on another pod. Like my prediction for the Chiefs is that all of their wide receivers are going to be in this kind of like frustrating rotation where like the top guy is probably not going to get more than like 60-70% of the snaps over the course of the season. But the bottom guy will get like 20 to 25, 30. So I'm really not like drafting many Chiefs receivers. I think Rashee Rice has some, upside as just like a guy who looks like he could separate, but like he also had drop issues. So, I mean, any Chiefs receivers stick out for you?
I still think it's Sky Moore, but I do agree. I think it's going to be a frustrating team to project. I think Marquez Valdes-Scantling might be the guy that's running around over 70% of the time, but not doing much with it. So it's going to just be very frustrating. They still have Justin Watson. I think Richie James
he's been
could be playing a
too.
lot early in the season. So I think the guy I would take a flyer on is still Sky Moore. And what's up with Kadarius Toney? He avoided the PUP list, but he is expected to miss like the first week or two. Like, have you heard anything on him?
I mean, it's Kadarius Toney. You don't even have to hear.
He's just an injury.
Of course, he's expected to miss. Like, it's Kadarius Toney. Yeah. What do you mean?
So
I don't know. I'm not drafting Kadarius Toney. Like, I just don't think the guy can. I don't even think the guy can stay healthy for a string of games where he's like getting starter snaps, much less a season. So, Chiefs are going to be pretty frustrating unless like Kelsey goes down, which he never has. So, except that rookie year. So, Rondale Robinson off the pup for the Giants. This just kind of throws, I think, some cold water on like all these, like, you know, Jalen Hyatt's ceiling, and it's just going to another one of these just rotations. I feel like that could change throughout the year, and they're kind of using Waller as a wide receiver, which cuts into everybody even more. So I don't want any Giants, but
other than Waller,
love Waller. Trey Palmer in the Tampa Bay is going to be the number 3 receiver, so that's kind of interesting because I mean he's an injury away from being a top 2 for this team. If Evans or Godwin goes down. So I got to monitor in deeper leagues. Maybe you or best ball, maybe you take a flyer or stash him. But any thoughts on him?
Yeah, no, I think he's going to be their week 1 starter. I'd feel a little bit better about him if they had Tom Brady under center instead of Baker Mayfield. But he's worth the flyer in deeper leagues. And we had a fun moment in our Discord where I had the over on Palmer's prop. It was like 20.5 or something, and I had the Bucks +3 in that game, and I said we could use a Trey Palmer 32-yard touchdown right here, and that's exactly what happened the next play. So we had some fun with that. But yeah, love his upside. He's speedy, and with everybody concerned with Godwin and Evans, he could be wide open for a touchdown or 2 early in the season. So yeah, he should be their number 3 receiver. I mean, who's he competing with? It's like
Kate
Geiger and
Geiger got cut.
Oh, Geiger got cut. So it's Devin Tompkins and David
Jarrett.
Moore.
Yeah. Jarrett. No, Moore got cut too. It's Raheem Jarrett.
Oh, Moore got cut too. Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's Godwin, Evans, Palmer, Tompkins, and Jarrett. As of now, I think that could change.
Wow.
They might add somebody or trade, but as of now, yeah.
So Palmer might be running around 60-70% of Baker's drop back. So that's worth something. Maybe he's probably DFS only, but someone to monitor.
Yep. I mean, I think Tampa Bay is going to be more of like a low score, like 17-10 type. Because I think their defense is actually pretty solid. So it probably won't be a huge bump for Palmer, but just somebody to keep an eye on because he's definitely he's definitely come into a much bigger role than we expected.
Yes.
Speaking of which, Jimmy Graham looks like he played his way onto the roster.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on like, is he going to have value at any point, or is it just like one of those reclamation projects that's going to fade out?
Probably the latter, but he looked great. The last time he was on the field, he was screwing over Stuckey and I on a prop. And actually, I had the Texans first half in this game, and that was when Jimmy Graham was going off, so I was having some flashbacks. But yeah, Graham looked great, and he made the team. If anything, he's going to just get red zone looks. So this could ding Juwan Johnson even more, who he had, 7 touchdowns last year. So that was kind of the appeal with Juwan Johnson. But now he's got to fight off Foster Moreau, Taysom Hill, and now Jimmy Graham specifically in the red zone potentially. So I lower Juwan Johnson. He's probably outside my top 20 now at tight ends. The fact that they kept Jimmy Graham. So this is more of a bad news item for Juwan Johnson.
Nah, I'm after last year. I'm not allowing myself to lower Juwan Johnson. Like I don't care what.
Fair enough.
I don't care. He's my tight end 18, and he's damn sure staying there. Like, I don't care how he has to stay there. He's staying there.
Yeah, fair point.
But you know what's funny? You and Stuckey have been living in this alternate reality where Jimmy Graham walked off into the limelight and retired after catching that touchdown to lose your prop. But he actually came back the next year and played a whole nother year. He was just so irrelevant that you completely forgot that he played all of 2021. Wasn't his last year.
He looked really, really good in this last preseason game. But like you said, it'll probably fade away.
All right, that is going to do it for our stock watch, final stock watch of 2023, heading into the regular season here on the Fantasy Flex. Be sure to check out Sean on X at @_oddsmaker. I'm at Chris Raybon. We're at those same handles on the free award-winning Action Network app. Stay tuned for our next episode where we go over all of our top league winners for 2023. Until next time, let's get this money.